Hey there, it's Joe Keyport, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. This week, I talked to Jeremy Worden of the band Double Grave to talk about Goodbye Nowhere, the band's forlorn second full-length LP. Jeremy and I talk about writing the record, recording the album at home, and what the future looks like. It's Jeremy Worden of Double Grave, right here on the Ear Coffee Podcast. Well, Jeremy, welcome back to the Ear Coffee Podcast. You are one of the few alum we've had. We've had maybe 2 or 3 now at this point. So
I'm honored.
But so
happy to be back.
So how's it going? It seems like we've lived a lifetime since February of last year. When the last time?
Yeah, is that last time I was on?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
so long ago.
Because I interviewed you right before I think you went into the studio to record Goodbye Nowhere, your record that will be out by the time this comes out.
Yeah, February of last year is like right when we started recording, so we would have just started.
Yeah. So
yeah, it does feel like a long time ago.
Yeah. So how's life been going since then? You working on the record plus you put out you put out some solo stuff and some other things too.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, that's like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Well, we recorded the record.
Mm-hmm.
We did that. It's coming out 2 days from now. 2 days from when we're speaking. I did a ton of touring in 2019. Like half the year or more, I was gone, and that was great, and it was a big blessing at the time, and it feels even more like one now. And I put out 2 like solo EPs in that time too, like one as Animal Actor, and one just as myself, and now this is coming out. We actually recorded another thing right when quarantine started, like like the week before there was the shelter in place. We made another thing, and then we finished it from like Postal Service style, from our separate places too. Trying to stay busy.
Yeah, is that a Double Grave thing, or is that another project you're working on?
It was gonna be the Animal Actor thing. For people who don't know, for like a couple of years I had a solo project called Animal Actor where I played bass and sang just like by myself. And the plan was to record that album in that time anyway, and I had studio time like reserved and everything. And I wanted to kind of like juggle that and the Double Grave record, but after everything got shut down, I was like, if I can't play anyway, I'm just gonna consolidate everything and only release stuff as Double Grave going forward. Since the people that I initially wanted to work with, which included Bree and Seth before, but like other people, they had to back out because of the shutdown, we decided to just kind of recalibrate it as a very odd Double Grave record.
Okay, is that the secret EP or whatever that?
Yeah. We finished it, and we're like, let's just make a bunch of CDs of this and give them to people who pre-ordered the record. So if anybody gets a CD with their LP, that's what it is.
Not gonna lie, I wasn't going to pre-order the record until I saw the secret EP, and I was like, well, okay, now I have to.
I'm so glad that it worked.
that little push to be like, well, I have to have the secret thing. So
awesome.
Because I was gonna buy it anyway.
Like it.
Yeah. So I've already talked to you most about the Double Grave history and everything in our last conversation. So I kind of want to just jump right into the new record, Goodbye Nowhere, which again, like I mentioned, during this conversation, it will have come out 2 days from right now, but it'll be out by the time this episode comes out. So listening through Goodbye Nowhere, it's probably one of the most expansive records and most cohesive records I've heard from the band to date. And so I wanted you to talk to me a little bit about writing and creating that record, because it has a lot going on. It has feelings of isolation and existential dread, but mixing a little bit of hope in there as well. It's on full display. So just kind of talk to me about creating creating this record?
Like what part of it? I don't know.
Yeah.
we as we sort of mentioned, we made it like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like we started recording it February of 2019, and I wrote it like before that even. So
Okay.
the process of it all was like took a long time, so it's kind of hard to sum up how it happened.
Okay.
A lot of the songwriting was done when I was living alone. Bree, our bassist, and I, we're a couple. We're engaged, no big deal. And we lived together for a really long time. But there reached a point in like 2017, 18, I guess, when like for my own like mental health, I had to just live by myself.
Okay.
And it was like in that time, in that like year of intentional solitude and like personal work, that's when I wrote Goodbye Nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a bunch of other stuff too. I wrote a lot of the Animal Actor stuff and that Ghost Songs EP I put out this year, also all during that time. And that's kind of, you know, so the like lyrically the album has a lot of like negative thoughts, but it also has a lot of like hopeful thoughts, because that's just what I was going through. You know, I was like confronting demons, I guess, in myself, and like working through them, and I wanted to capture that feeling.
Okay.
And I was also reflecting a lot on like when I was younger and I lived in like a really small place, and like I was alone a lot, and that same kind of feeling of like, how do I get out of this situation?
I was gonna mention that. Did you, when you did this kind of self-imposed isolation while you were working on yourself, did you stay in the Twin Cities or did you go back?
Yeah, no, I was living in the Twin Cities. Like we were still active and stuff. It wasn't like cabin in the woods level isolation. It was just literally like living alone for the first time in a while.
Okay. And, because I was, when I read your interview with Sage Shimrosky for Secret Meeting, you mentioned in that one that you tapped into that feeling of being 16 and kind of trapped in that small town, which feels very on the nose for this record.
Yeah, and you know, like and today, but like especially when I was younger, you know, like records, like albums from bands, you know, they could be like your whole life. Like there are certain albums that like, you know, they feel like a friend or like a place that you can go to escape and like sort of just be with yourself, like inside the music. And I really wanted to like recreate that sort of thing. I wanted to make something that like I could show like a younger me or like myself in the future if I'm ever like feeling bad, that could like do that felt like you're going into a different place that feels like a very self-contained world in and of itself, and that's what we tried to do.
Okay.
We definitely had that like idea of place and like a record that felt like somewhere you could go almost. Like sometimes you put a record on because you have nowhere else, no other way to like get away.
The fact that you said you work in a lot of these hopeful messages is something that I feel like is almost new for the music you write. Because I was thinking back to Empty Hands, not New Year's Daydream, but Empty Hands EP released in 2018, and that one has a lot of those existential kind of thoughts of feeling less alone, but more not knowing where you quite fit in the world. I can think of Dead End is the one that really like sticks out to me. Was how, when you mentioned it was very intentional for you to add in that hope. Is that kind of the first time you thought about that, writing from that perspective in Double Grave history, or just even in your own songwriting?
Yeah, it did feel kind of new and intentional to me to be that way. I just really didn't want to make something that felt like I think a lot of our music is kind of melancholy, and like we get that a lot. But I just didn't want to make something that felt totally hopeless. You know, I wanted to make something that, you know, people would listen to and like it would touch on the like hopelessness and like touch on sadness and like connect with that, but then also be like, hey, it's gonna get better. You can get better.
Which then leads into the fact that you wrote this as a companion, as someone who like records, especially if you're in that small town or kind of that area, records are your best friend in moments like that. It's that companion. Along with you spending time working on this, and this you as a band sitting on this record for such a long time, you recorded the whole thing by yourselves, which is I think the first time you did that for Double Grave stuff. Is that...
this is like the biggest solo undertaking that we've done for sure. We did Empty Hands and some of the like Ego Death material by ourselves also.
Okay.
But yeah, so like I wrote the songs like alone, but you know, we then worked on a lot of them and like finished it out like ourselves, like the summer and fall leading into like the last half of 2018 is when we kind of really finished everything, and we like learned songs and cut songs and like hash parts out, and then we started recording in February 2019, and we did it all in the house that Bree and I live in now, mostly in this room that I'm sitting in actually. And it took a long time, both intentionally and unintentionally, because we laid down the drums, but then like I had to go on tour with another band, and then we'd come back and do the bass, but then Bree had to go on tour with like her other band. We were all like just really, really busy throughout the year, like on top of it, which is why we didn't really like play a lot of like local stuff last year.
Yeah.
Had to prioritize our time. But yeah, also like we've been in studio situations before, and we've always felt very stressed about it, and I've not often felt like super satisfied with the result, because you kind of like run out of money at a certain point, and then you're like, well, I guess it's done. Or but since we were doing everything alone, like multiple times we would like track a chunk of the song, and then we would sit on it for a minute and be like, we actually have to redo this. Like the speed's wrong, or like this part doesn't feel right. So there was a lot of like doing it, sitting with it, doing it over again and changing things, which made it a lot of fun. And like we're all definitely more proud of this than anything else that we've done so far.
I was wondering, did the track Nowhere grow out of that fact that you were like working on it and sitting on it so much and doing it from home, very DIY style? Because Nowhere is the 8th track, which is an expansive ambient, just instrumental track that's just a lot of guitar. Very almost. I'm not a huge My Bloody Valentine fan, just because I am not as well versed in that kind of material. But it's the closest thing that I can almost pick and grab to.
Yeah, it's the drone track.
Yeah, it's the drone. Yeah.
No, I mean we put that song in there.
Okay.
Intentionally, you know, the tracks were like the flow of it was really intentional.
Okay.
And it was kind of like we knew we wanted some droney interlude there before like tying everything off with the last song. And we like, you know, the fact that like the beginning and end songs sound really similar and are like really chill, that was intentional too. It was almost kind of like plotting out like what kind of songs we needed in what order, and then like constructing them according to the need, I guess, or like what we wanted. So I wouldn't say that the drone track like came out of like all the experimenting. It was it was always part of the plan.
Gotcha.
But being able to make a song like that, like in a studio, would be really hard because you'd feel like you're just wasting time.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. For a band that doesn't have any money, at least we would be like, we're seriously spending hours just like recording the same guitar.
Well, because I was reading I was reading somewhere else. I think it may have been Merry Go Round, that little interview you did there. One of the songs, it's like guitar take after guitar take layered on. I think it's the end of, is it The Farm? It's like like 20 guitars on top of each other. Like
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. That was fun. It's fun to get to do that stuff and just like mess around and be like, oh, and you're not like afraid to make mistakes or like experiment. Yeah.
Because Seth your drummer Seth, he led the charge kind of on the production side.
Yeah. So Seth, he first recorded us in like 2015 or 16, the like Days EP when we were Ego Death, and ever since then he's been like honing his skills, and he recorded other bands like Gash and some others. So that's definitely his world. Yeah, he's the engineer guy, and he like sets all the mics up and twists all the knobs and mixes everything together. Yeah.
Was there a pressure going into this LP2 for the band, especially since you're doing it yourself and this material had been around for a while, and you almost don't want to do the sophomore slump as the kind of the, especially when coming off of some other stuff?
Do you mean like pressure for like reception?
Not reception, but just in general, because you mentioned that you haven't always been as happy. You felt not as happy, but you felt rushed, and you just kind of coming into it like the record that way.
Yeah, I don't know if like pressure is the right word. I think we were all just like really, really, really ready to make this record, and like we knew how we wanted it to sound, and maybe if there's pressure, it was just like pressure on ourselves to like execute the vision properly.
Okay.
But I think we were excited by the time we like had the songs written and had it all structured out. Like by the time we were going to start recording, we were all just like excited. We're like, you know, this is exactly what we want. We're going to make it exactly what we want. And we were excited to show everyone like what we really think we sound like.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, so I don't know if pressure is the right word, but just like excitement to, you know, we put all of our stuff out and like it feels really good, but we've never felt like that's what we sound like, if that makes sense. It's almost like everything has been like taste testing until we finally landed on this, and it's like, here we go.
Well,
since we were just like eager to make it.
Yeah, since you keep saying you wanted, this is like the first record you've truly felt this is what you sound like. What would you describe your sound like then? Which is a very, I would feel like a hard question to say, but for you as a band, because you've like New Year's Daydream is a little sludgier and like very shoegazy, and then you had Empty Hands, which kind of mixed like the shoegazier prairie grunge kind of elements of your band with almost, to me, sounds like Dinosaur Jr. So coming into this record then, what was the sound that you had in your heads and the sound you wanted and you felt like you created?
Well, I don't know. Like, I think when I listen to our older stuff, it's like we went through like a poppy punk era. We went through like a kind of sad, like post-punk thing, and we were like grungy for a while, and we like tried on all these different hats, and I feel like they're all just like swirled together into this record where like some of the songs are just really grungy, but some of them are really like quiet and soft. Yeah, I don't know. When I think of us, I think that it's like loud and kind of sad, but like not like heavy, but like loud still.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like grungy shoegazy music, but we didn't want it to. We wanted to also make it sound like kind of soft at the same time.
It's listening to the record. It's very enveloping in like the best way possible. I feel like seeing your band live is one of the few bands I've like come away with like the worst headache due to just noise and not wearing ear protection. But like it's never been so just like aggressive to the point of discomfort. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, good. Yeah, I mean we've definitely like gotten more distorted and like loud sounding like throughout, like from day one, just like consistently always getting louder and more like saturated, and we work really hard to like when we play live to like do that to people, you know, to kind of like wash over them in an almost overwhelming way, which takes a lot of intention when there's only 3 people on the stage. But you know, we like try really hard to do that, and so we definitely wanted that amount of depth of sound to be captured. Whereas before, I feel like you can kind of hear it's just like one guitar, a bass, and drums, and there's like a lot of space. We like wanted to kind of get rid of this space, I guess, on this one.
And how long had you been playing? Because you mentioned earlier these songs have been written back in like, was it 2017, 2018?
Yeah, for the most part. Okay. Some of them, or I guess just like The Farm in particular, is even older than that. That song was written before we recorded Empty Hands, actually.
Oh, wow.
And we decided to not put it on that EP because we wanted to kind of use it as a cornerstone for the full length.
What about that song made it that cornerstone you wanted?
I think that was the first time we wrote a song where like, this is basically just like a heavy grunge song.
Okay.
It's like there's no clean parts to it at all. It's just all loudness. And we wanted to try and make a record more focused in that direction, so saved it.
Okay.
And kind of like worked around it to make the other songs in a way.
Yeah. Tell me just about, because that was the first single off this record. So talk to me about that song and what that song's about.
What is that song?
Because I know I also read somewhere that to you lyrics come last, so things kind of end up a little vaguer than maybe some other songwriters. But
I feel kind of dumb every time I say it, but I often am like not totally sure what the songs are about. That one to me, that was kind of like the first one where I was trying to stop just being like sad and stop just like self-loathing and feeling like everything's hopeless, and like tried to write some lyrics that had like some more hopeful imagery to them. And so that song was kind of inspired by like people I knew or myself like taking steps to do whatever they had to do to like get better or like feel good about their lives, like friends like going on like solo adventures, or like moving out into the country, or having to like rekindle relationships with their family and stuff. It's sort of just like a series of statements of like people kind of doing what they have to do.
Okay.
And then I guess the chorus is like longing for connection.
Yeah.
I
gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm a very good lyricist, because I never feel like I'm able to write a song that's like about a specific situation. It's all kind of just like phrases that sound nice tied together and like capture a certain vibe from me.
Well, it plays into that fact that this record is meant to be such a companion to the listener, and almost yourself, if you want to say, could go back in time and show it to yourself in the past, or pick it up in the future, because it's nice enough that you can have that ambiguity. There's the word I'm looking for. to that you can almost put your own meaning on it. Or the wasn't The Farm, but you did put out a music video with Jack. It's Buchholz for
Buchholz.
What? Yeah, for Whatever. Talk to me about that music video, because you put out 3. You did 2. Is it 2 lyric videos, and then the more proper music video?
We did an audio single for The Farm, and then a lyric video for Long Drive Home, and then we have the video for Whatever. And we have one more video that'll come out after the record's out too. But yeah, the video for Whatever that we did with Jack. Jack is one of my best friends. We've known each other forever.
Okay.
And he made the Dead End video where we're like riding bikes and skateboarding and stuff. But yeah, so that was supposed to be a tour video. We were supposed to tour a lot this year.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to come along for a chunk of it. We actually did get to tour a lot this year. We toured for like a whole month in February, and then we got home and then everything started to fall apart. But we were supposed to do like more stuff that he was going to come along with, and it was supposed to be like that. But then we couldn't get together, and so what we ended up doing was we like dug through our social media and like stuff saved on our phone, stuff that he had managed to capture before. We like talked to we like enlisted all of our friends and like the undercurrent crew to just like get any footage of us that we could find, and just like compiled all of it, and Jack like edited it down. It ended up, rather than being like a Touring Now video, it turned into like a Double Grave like retrospective in like a bunch of video clips. So really like cute for me to watch and be like, wow, that's like 5 years ago.
Well, like shout out to the the Undercurrent people, just because they have everything, like every show
thank you for doing that.
They're at. It was funny because I was watching through that video and I was like, I feel like, because there's like 331 Club footage, and I was like, I feel like I was at that show, and just stuff like that. Yeah, it was just. And I was wondering too if you had other videos that COVID squashed a little bit. Just, and you mentioned you planned on being more of a tour video that was less retrospective in the sense of suddenly it's footage from 3 years ago and more. This is what we just did following the release of the record.
Yeah. The next video that's coming out, I don't know when this podcast is going to come out or if this video will be out or not. But it's for Slime. It's animated actually, so that one was not interrupted at all. We have a long history of animated videos from a friend, Adam Loomis, and I'm really excited about that one. And we were gonna make other videos. We were gonna make one for the farm, like literally at our friend's farm, and it was gonna be really cool. And we tried to think of like doing another one. We had a bunch of video ideas, and we weren't even like sure which songs they were going to be for yet. By the time everything got shut down, and then we kind of just had to abandon them. But then Adam also whipped up that lyric video too, which sort of like balanced it out on our end. Yeah, animation's going to have a real moment.
Okay, is it?
If they're not already.
Actually, though. Okay, you said animation, and I thought of the Animal Actor video you did, but that was less animation and more. That was like stop motion, like a stop motion loop.
Yeah, my friend Wishbone Sarah, out in Massachusetts, she made that one, and I don't know exactly how she did it, but it is an animated loop still. Yeah, I love animation. I'm a huge fan of the art form, so we like to use it. Also, like I don't like being on camera, so I'm totally down to like get other sorts of videos made.
Yeah. Did you shoot the you sitting on a chair playing guitar? Was that yourself, or did a Jack come over with a camera?
Yeah, that's in Jack's backyard.
Oh, okay.
And it was funny, you know. It was very like early in the shutdown, and we were like 10 feet apart at all times, like trying to make it work, and it worked really well. I think it was to sort of like underline the fact that this is a tour video interrupted by COVID, but just me with a mask on for some of the shots.
Yeah. I do want to ask, because this record is coming out in the middle of a very historic moment in not only Minneapolis and the world, and I wonder, how have you gone about making sure, like, because the people listening will obviously know we are a couple months out from the police killing of George Floyd, and I don't want to obviously go on a big side tangent there, but what has the conversation been like for the band to try and put things out during this time? Because it's a conversation I feel like everybody had. I know Ear Coffee, Wes, and I had a lot of long conversations about trying to do that and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's not easy. We had a lot of long conversations. Everything got pushed back in different ways. And I don't know, it's been done for so long, and we're kind of like held accountable to like our label and our publicists and like all these people that we like employ, for lack of a better word, or like work for. So we had to still get it out like this summer in some capacity. Probably felt worst when we made the initial announcement in June, because that was like, I don't know, like 2 weeks after George Floyd was murdered, and we were supposed to announce it like that same week. So we pushed it back 2 weeks, and like, we had to, from like a businessy perspective, we like had to get the word out so that like our publicist and label could like start actually like working on it, like doing their side of the work to get it around and everything. But I pretty immediately felt really bad about doing that. Yeah, it always feels kind of dumb to be like, you should listen to my band. I'm surprised if any musician out there ever doesn't feel super whack and like guilty trying to promote themselves, because I have always hated it. And I'm like, ever since I started to try and pursue music, every day I ask myself, like, what is the point of this? Like, how is this helpful? I've never gotten to any kind of answer about it.
Yeah.
Other than I don't really know how to stop. Like, I kind of just need to keep doing it, or I'll kill myself. I don't know. But yeah, we had a lot of conversations about like, pushing it back initially, and then we like made the announcement, and then we were kind of like, well, this actually like feels bad, but it's out there. And then so we kind of just like shut up for the rest of June. We were supposed to release like another song or two like in June as part of the initial plan, but then we're like, okay, song's out, people know it's coming. We'll just like be quiet and create space and try to be helpful in other ways. And then we didn't drop another thing until like the middle of July, and we decided to kind of just like do it all at once around the date, because we announced the date like 2 months ahead of time, and we're like, we'll just bunch everything around that. And yeah, I don't know. To me, it's like we're gonna put it out. People don't have to listen to it. Like we're just like playing songs into the void, and there are people that really want to hear it and that have like supported this band for years and years, and we worked on it for like over a year, so we're not going to not put it out. But at the same time, like, I don't really feel good like trying to draw attention to it more so than like what it's just going to do on its own. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, and
they're going to put it out, and like people will do with it what they want, and I'm not trying to like take space away or like act like it's more important than I think it actually is. But I hope that it helps people in some way. I tried to make something for people who feel hopeless to feel less like that. So I do have some motivation to like get it out there in that way. Because it's about, in a lot of ways, it's about convincing yourself not to die. And I hope that I can help somebody feel that way.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter, since you mentioned that you were obviously it wasn't written in a good place. Have you felt like you personally have improved to a point past that? Or if you don't want to share, that's A-okay. Like, there's no pressure.
No, I don't know. I think it's important for people to continue to talk about things like that. You mentioned Twitter. I think that we should normalize the conversations around suicidal thought. Yeah, I don't know. It goes back and forth all the time. I think it's more about learning. It's about like fostering that relationship with your own brain to like understand when you're thinking and feeling that way. Like, to like welcome that feeling in, I guess, and like sit with it and understand it better, so that it doesn't actually like convince you to stop living.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think writing this album, that time in my life, I learned a lot about myself. I like learned a lot of like tools for myself, and since then, I've gotten way better. I've gotten bad again. This year sucks, so it's like hard to. And even with the pressure, or I guess so there wasn't pressure, but now there's like pressure. Or just like the fact that this album has to come out, and like feeling so like conflicted about that, like so proud of this thing, but also like feel like trying to push a record is like the most selfish, stupid thing anybody could do right now. Definitely makes me, that like triggers things in your head to be like, well, if this is the only thing I do, then like, and I don't want to do it, then like, what are you even here for? But yeah, I just think it's all about seeing those thoughts come into your head, like understanding those feelings, and then working out ways within yourself to like cope with them. So like make it to the next day, and hopefully the next day is better, and you can just keep doing it, and you'll be good again. But you're never going to be good forever. I don't think. This doesn't work like that.
No, it really never does. It gets that comes in waves, and you just kind of, again, that sense of hope and trying to push forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have run out of questions, and so usually this is where I ask bands what the rest of 2020 looks like for them, but that question has since been just thrown out the window.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, we're going to put this out, and I hope that people like it and share it with their friends, and that it quietly becomes a little underground phenomenon. That's my hope. And we're gonna, I don't know, had a lot of downtime this spring, wrote a ton of stuff that like I want to start working on. We're all like starting new jobs and things like that. So, I don't know. We've like had a lot of talks about like what happens to Double Grave. Like the main thing we do, which is like tour and play live shows, is like gone. Like, what are we gonna do? And we're probably just gonna record and write a lot. And, we're like best friends, and we all love doing this. So it's not like we're gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
We'll be here on the other side of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double Grave, last band standing.
Yeah.
Well,
unkillable.
Well, where can people find you? The links and all the pluggables that you can throw out there.
Yeah, our Bandcamp is where our music lives, and on all the other places too. It's GGRRAAVVEE.bandcamp.com, and we're on social media. Doublegrave_MN, most of them, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double Grave, we're out there.
You got to go buy the record on Bandcamp because Spotify is run by a dickhead. So.
Yeah. Would be great if you bought it, but honestly, if you just listen to it, that's great. And if you listen to it and you like it, you should tell a friend. That, Spotify can't help artists, but even if you don't pay an artist, if you listen to their music and you tell a friend about it and they like it too, like that's more valuable than streaming it like 100 times, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Like so far as like the money goes, like someone listening to a record 100 times is amazing. Even if they don't pay for it. Yeah.
Well,
I just want people to hear it.
Yeah.
I want to do a shout out before we wrap it up.
Oh yeah, go to town. Shout out everyone.
I want to shout out Forged Artifacts, the label that's putting it out. This is our third release with them, and even before the pandemic hit and 2020 became what it was, we've had a lot of hiccups with like getting this thing made, and he's been Matt's been with us the whole time, and just really grateful to have him helping us with it all. They're an incredible label. Running a label is super hard, and I think that everyone should go check them out because he has excellent taste. And I also wanted to shout out Know Your Buds, Jamie Coletta is our publicist, and honestly, if we didn't have her on our team right now, like we're talking about like the weirdness of promoting and trying to put something out in the middle of a combination uprising pandemic, like she's like taken all of that anxiety off our plates, and I'm so thankful for her. So I want to shout them out.
Yeah, you guys have been going ham with like where I've been seeing you beyond, like, you know, you show up in like the alternative or like like you were on KFAI, but like
shout out to the alternative and KFAI.
Yeah, of course, but like you've been everywhere. That I just randomly. Is that a Jamie Coletta push, or have you been really just kind of consistently, or thinking about what can you do before obviously everything hit? Like, or was that the plan of trying to figure out the way to be more probably intentional when putting out like promotion for this record?
No, I can't take any credit for it. Jamie did it all, you know. Like part of why we waited till summer to put the record out is so that we could work with her. She had a baby, Juan Ramon, in the spring, so we couldn't put it out until she was done with her maternity leave. And you know, like, we always wanted to be on her team. She's worked with a bunch of friends of ours, and everybody loves her. And then, you know, after 2020 like became what it was, I was pretty upfront of just like, I don't like have it in me to like back this really, like I feel awful. And she's basically like steered the ship in that direction, and just really grateful all the time. Because like I hate promotion. It's like always my absolute like least favorite part of being in a band. You know, like I think a lot of musicians wish that they could just put the thing out and like everything will work out, but it never works that way. And I would not have been able to do what had to be done by myself this time. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that about does it for me, Jeremy. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and sit down.
Yeah, thanks so much.
The Ear Coffee Podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. If you like this episode, please leave us a rate and review so we can stand out among the other music podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @EarCoffee. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.